Hi everyone, today I'm joined by Kit Messenger. Kit is known for her work on behaviour, neurodiversity and empowerment approach, which is helping schools and families and support young people to be at their brain best. Kit, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So anyone who might not know yet, what would you describe the work that you do?
Do you know what? That's a really hard question because I'm not very good at just saying it in a brief summary. But I suppose it's about helping any young person from 3 to 25 to be able to find what their brain best is. In other words, what do they need to feel great and do well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it is about neurodiversity, but it's about every brain.
So I know you work with a lot of schools and families.
Yeah.
How do you get into that? Like, how do you communicate with them and get into that position?
It's been lots of different ways. So part of it is local authorities that will, they've kind of commissioned our work. Mm-hmm. And then quite often people have read our book or they've heard me speak at a conference. So they'll get in touch and say, we can see that what you're doing could really help our school or our children's home or residential home.
So they reach out to you?
Yeah, often. Yeah, it just, that tends to be, other than the local authorities. So quite often we'll have people from local authorities who get in touch and say, would you help this school or that residential care home? Or so we're working with some virtual schools.
Because when you work with a lot of schools and families, what do you think the biggest misunderstanding people have about children who struggle to behave?
They think it's because they can't be bothered or they're naughty. They think of it as, this is behaviour we've got to change, rather than there's a reason this child is struggling and we're not going to help them by making them feel worse. That's really it.
So you often talk about something being called like your brain best.
Yeah, I talk about brain best a lot.
What does that mean in like simple terms?
It's really making sure that your environment is right for your physical needs. Mm-hmm. So that might be that you've had the right amount of sleep, or you've had some people need lots of regular snacks, some people don't. They can go all day. I'm like that, I can go all day. Some people might have some quite different sensory needs. So I know that a lot of noise, it's too much for me.
Yeah.
And I haven't got any kind of diagnosis. It's just that I know my brain needs calm. It needs quiet. It also needs not to be too busy. No. So even when I was little, I hated parties because to me a party is a nightmare. There's too much stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it's just like driving on the road, isn't it? When you've got too much traffic, too much noise.
It's like driving in Rome.
Yeah.
It's just not too busy. Yeah. And so that's also emotional, because you've got to feel emotionally safe around the people you're with. You've got to feel this is all right, and it's got to be the right amount of connection. Yeah. So for some people, getting too close and having lots of people is too much. And for other people, they want lots of connection. And then it's also about, so it's about all of those things. We call it needs. And there's other bits, but I won't go into that. The other bit is that affects your, what I call I don't call it that, but neurobiology. In other words, what's going on inside in terms of stress chemicals instead of, in terms of neurochemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, all those sorts of things. What's the balance? And is it the right balance? Because you need a little bit of stress chemicals, otherwise we probably wouldn't ever get round to doing anything. But you don't want too much, because that's then when the brain just goes, oh, something's not okay here. So I think really it's about that. It's about your neurobiology being balanced. Your needs being well enough. Can't be perfect, but well enough. And then that the thing you're being asked to do is okay for the skills you've got. Now, you've probably heard of executive function skills, but for example, if you have, for example, a working memory that finds it hard to hold things in your head, and there's a teacher giving you loads of information, that's going to be overwhelming. And I think people misunderstand things like working memory. They think it's like, they'll say, well, they remember every Pokemon character, well, they know every computer program. How is it they can't remember some instructions? But they're two very different parts of the brain. So, yeah, skills, strengths, neurobiology, brain needs. Get all that right? Perfect.
On that last bit that you were talking about, I can remember like most of the components inside an iPhone, but my mum can ask me to go get me some milk from top of the road and I'll come back with nothing.
Yeah.
Because I just forgot. So,
And I think then people think, oh, they're not listening. They can't be bothered. Yeah. But actually, if they understand, if someone comes back, there's a reason. And it could be a reason about connection. This person keeps making me do stuff and it's making me feel like I've got no control. It could be that, but it might just be they couldn't hold it. And they got there and thought, I can't remember.
That's definitely me in English, all this information. And then at the end, I'm like, what did you just say?
Yeah. I play a video. We had loads of little animations created and continue to do them all the time. I'd love to show you them.
The videos, they stick in my head when you see a video.
There's all these little animations.
Yeah.
And these animations are helping not just adults, but they're for anyone to watch. And we've just had one created about working memory. But we've got another one, it's called the carrot saga, because I think the other issue that we go wrong with in homes, in schools, is that we think some form of carrot, and I don't mean the vegetable, I mean some point or some, if you do this, it could be, you get 50p or you'll get extra computer time or you'll get that some kind of, let's just call it bribery, will work. In other words, if I bribe you enough, then you won't forget to get the milk. But actually, that's not addressing working memory.
No.
And I think one of the issues we've got is in homes, in schools, in residential homes, we've got people that are still using carrots and sticks, in other words, rewards and punishment, when actually that's not what children need.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So how can teachers and parents better support students with ADHD or autism, or both, in a classroom environment?
In a classroom?
Yeah, definitely over classroom of 30 as well.
Now, that's about teaching, I believe, every child in that class. It's about not going, we're going to do this a little bit different for
this
Jeremy.
This person.
It's actually just saying, no, actually, we are going to help every child understand about sensory needs, about relational needs, about emotional needs, about executive function, everybody, about neurobiology, so that every child has got the language and the understanding to go, right now, I don't feel great. I would love, my dream is that a child would say something like this. They'd say something like, right now, there were too many instructions and I know that my working memory can only hold a few. Would it be possible if you could? And they would become really good self-advocates. But equally, I've got the thing that we talk about a lot is self-responsibility, self-advocacy, that I want every child to be able to be a good self-advocate and for people to really listen and just say, it's a bit overwhelming for me in this situation, and for them to really listen. So, but also for those children to know their brain well enough that they can take some responsibility for it as well. So if you know, for example, I know that it's too much if it's too noisy. And so if I'm going on, like when I came up on the train, I thought there'll be someone making a noise. Yeah. And there was a group and they were like, it was the evening and they were drinking beer and stuff. So I thought, right, I'll just make sure I take headphones. What I call prep for best. Yeah. I made sure.
Prepare for the worst.
Yes. Yeah. So I could go, what could go wrong? There could be really noisy people on the train and that's going to be a bit much for me. So and then what else could I do? I can make sure I just have my own little quiet time. So I think it's that we have to teach children about their brains, everybody's brains. It also means when a child's getting overwhelmed, what happens a lot in schools and in homes is that other children think, they're being naughty. So it's also about teaching every child so that another child goes, they're having a difficult time. I wonder how I can help them. How can I help them get to their brain best again? Because they're obviously... So you get everyone to look at things differently, because then you've got everyone supporting everybody. Yeah,
a different view of it. Yeah.
It really is a different mindset. It really is, yeah.
Let's say if a school wanted to start using the empowerment approach tomorrow, what's the first step that they should take?
Curiosity. The first step is to start every time there's a child who struggled. Come away from saying words like they were refusing, they were and describing the behaviour, and actually stop that and just say, I wonder what that was about. I wonder if there were any sensory needs, physical needs, emotional needs. I wonder what could be. It's a thing about executive function. So yeah, start with curiosity.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any moments where this approach really made a big difference for a child or a school?
Lots of times, so many times. But actually, I was on a call with a school just yesterday, so I suppose that's the one that's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh my gosh, it's reduced the number of what people call incidents of behaviour so much." Well, why has that? That's because you're helping children to be at their very best more often, and you're helping children to be able to be greater self-advocates. So it's not a quick fix. There aren't any quick fixes.
No.
And it takes really good leadership to really implement it well, because you've got to try and shift minds. It's everything you said. There would be people who just like, they need to have a punishment. They did this or that. And so it takes a while. And then you have to have really good systems. So it's a bit different in a home to a school, in that in a school you have to have really good systems to support children and to support staff. Yeah.
So your work must be emotionally like heavy at times.
Yeah.
With all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated to keep on going? And keep on doing it, keep on going out. Like coming up to Liverpool today, what made you go, right, come on, let's go on the train, let's get on my stuff. Let's do this.
I think because to me it's a bit of a mission.
Yeah.
I'd really like to shift the country from our behaviourist point of view of rewards and sanctions towards something more about coaching and helping, because I think it has such a long-term impact on all of us. Of young people,
100%.
for us, when I'm old, for how people are on trains and in cinemas, and because it means everybody understands each other better.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So what's one thing you wish every parent and teacher knew about children? Like with ADHD or without? Or...
Yeah. To stop and try and be better at not just listening, but trying to get into that child's head and heart to find out, I wonder what's really going on for them. Not to take things personally. No. This is not about me. This person is struggling. And I think because often life is busy, and let's take a parent who's like, it's time for school, and their child is going, I'm not wearing these socks. It's really hard to not take that personally, because you want to get out and you've got to get to your own work, and it's really hard. So I suppose that the one top tip I would say is, every time something goes wrong, wait until everyone's calm, even if it's and it's almost like forgotten. So everyone's had time to calm, and it's not such a big thing. But make sure you follow up. And when you follow up by saying, I realised something was going on for you, and now I really want to do some solution finding so we can find a way that's good for me. Yeah. But I'd say good for you, good for me, good for everyone. Yeah. Because I think if you always, in that moment, you've got to be like a paramedic, not taking it personally, just trying to get everything back on track.
And being calm as well.
And being calm. But if you don't follow up, nothing ever gets better. And that's the biggest mistake parents make. Even the parents who are brilliant at staying calm, they don't like to open the can of worms. They're like, oh, we won't bring that up again, because he or she or they will get a bit fizzy about it again. But actually, if they know, now I've got a step grandchild, and whenever things go wrong, in terms of she struggles with something, I say later on, right, let's do some solution finding. Let's work out so it's better for both of us next time. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. You weren't bad, you weren't naughty, but it's really important we find a better way next time. And that, because children only go, I don't want to talk about it, because they feel shame. And because they think they're naughty. So you've got to do a lot to make a child realise, no, you're not. You're just having a difficult time. And I think if that happened every time, it'd be very different for children.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on uniform in school?
Do you know, I think people are normally surprised at my answer with this, because I'm a great advocate of school uniform, because I think there's something about this sense of belonging. But I think we should be so much more flexible. I think we need to have something which anyone would find comfortable, but that there's some uniformity. So the word uniform just comes, we are all the same, but we're not.
Mm-hmm.
But we can have some uniformity by saying, right, we want everyone to wear something white on top and something navy blue on the bottom. If you feel comfortable in joggers, you wear joggers. If you feel but we'll all wear blue, navy and blue, navy and white. So that, I see so many problems happen in school. It's almost like a battle.
Yeah.
And I think we're educators. What are you doing making that your most important thing? But you might have some principles, which I used to have when I was a head teacher. And one might be, I want everyone here to feel they're part of. And uniform's a good one. I also want to make it a leveller. Some children will be able to afford really fancy stuff. So if we just make it the same 2 colours, we get rid of some of that.
True, yeah.
Or if you really don't want that, say joggers and a polo shirt or a t-shirt, because that's pretty comfortable for neurodifferent brains as well as neurotypical brains. And I think if you feel that strongly, you want everyone to wear exactly the same, buy it for everyone and make sure it's comfortable.
Yeah. Because I had a really difficult time, definitely in primary. Because I used to have to go through the office, not through with all the people, with the office.
Yeah.
And I used to, teachers had to drag me in. I would kick my legs. My mum was crying. I'd have to get dragged in every time.
And that's not because, if you loved going there, that would not be the case, would it?
But one day it was, like you have to bring in £1 to wear your own school, wear your own clothes.
Yeah.
And my mum was getting prepared to teach us, and I just walked in. She just walked in one day, and my mum he just walked in. All the teachers couldn't believe it. So my mum messaged the head teacher and said, "Is it okay if Dan just comes in with his normal clothes on tomorrow?" She said, "Yeah, you can do, but you'll have to bring so we can get changed into it." So the next day, I got out of the car and I just walked in again, no problem. And my mum was like, "School uniform. It must be something that's too tight. Mustn't like the shirt. Mustn't like the tie. It must be maybe the shoes. It must be something."
Yeah.
And he doesn't like. So it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, because that
needs to be flexible.
It's got to be flexible.
Yeah.
People got to be curious, and rather than that he's being difficult, you won't wear the uniform.
No.
Because that's what people do, is that we need to make him wear the uniform. How about, there's something that's stopping him from thinking that's all right. I wonder what that is. Because it could be other stuff. It could be, I don't know. I've met young people where they've got very high sensitivity around smell.
Yeah, so they just go in and there's a bad smell, they just don't want to go past it.
They just want to go past it. Or, someone wants to make them wear a PE kit, but they're like, so there's things like that. So I think if you just go by it, start with being curious and don't think someone's badly behaved, because there's always a reason.
Yeah.
And I think the moment a child, I think I've learned a lot over the years about being more curious. I should think I'm much more curious now than I was 20 years ago, for sure. Yeah.
So for the people watching, what message would you give to young people right now who feel misunderstood and are finding school very difficult right now?
That's so hard. I think I would say that they should record a video, or, if they don't like writing, but somehow record something which says, this is what it's like for me. But also, this is what would be better.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I say often is you can't go, telling people what you don't want is sometimes confusing for people, because they're like, I don't know what would be better. If you say, this is what would be better for me, and you're clear about it, not just, I want to be more liked, something really, you have to be specific.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, if you think about, if you when you go shopping, you wouldn't go shopping with a list of things you don't want.
No.
It would be a hard shopping trip, wouldn't it? We've got all these, I don't want that and I don't want that. You want to go shopping with the list you do want. And so I think sometimes you can't make a plan about what you don't want. You make a plan about what you do want. So if they can record a video, I think a video is the most powerful thing. Yeah. When they're nice and calm and just say, look, this is how it is for me, and this is what would be better. And if that school watched that and they don't change, it's probably not the right school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the other thing. I think sometimes children feel that there's no other choice But I suppose to
Like
feel
they're stuck in like a hamster wheel.
yes, but maybe to feel empowered to say, do you know, if my school won't listen to this, that's serious.
Yeah.
I will have to, and that other people that they could get in touch with the local authority and say, look, here's a video. I've sent it to my school, but for whatever reason, they're finding it difficult to hear that and change. Because there could be some good reasons. I think it's about everyone being curious. I think sometimes what happens is parents of children who've got neurodifferent brains or a different neurocognitive profile can become so worried about their children that it becomes almost a fight to get, of course it does, they want to get their child what they need. So it can become a bit embattled between the school and parents, or between the local authority and school and parents. And I think it's about everyone saying, I wonder what's stopping them from being able to do that, and listening to each other. But for children to feel that if the school don't listen to other people, there's local authorities, there's MPs, there's people, and I'm not saying, make it a battle, but just say, could you help me? Because I don't think my message is getting there. And I don't want the school to be in trouble, but I just want people to listen better. You know, it's that kind of, we don't need to go into battle with each other, but we do need to put the pressure on people to listen better. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Kit, so much for joining me.
Thank you.
What a
lovely experience.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.